All right, what's up, everybody? We are here, rocking and rolling. um, yeah, a couple minutes late. Just waiting for Elijah to get on the groove train, so to speak. Wow, it's back. It feels strange to be here, but I guess we were here on Friday, but it just feels different. A nice Wednesday. It feels good to be back in the saddle, so to speak. Um, yeah, and we might have a guest today. I'm gonna see. Hopefully, she logs in. There was a.
She's actually here.
Oh, she is.
She
Oh,
is
dang!
here.
All right, hang on. Before she comes in, let me just say a couple of things. And we in class yesterday. Hang on one second. It was a class. I had to be a little bit. Now hang on, Jeff. Just why don't you bring Jay on? Let's go. We'll start. It'll be better if she hears.
It looks like she's still getting her setup ready. So let's bring Elijah in right now. Say hello to him, and then we'll give her an extra minute.
What's up, Elijah?
What's up? It's been a minute.
Yeah. Did you watch class yesterday?
I unfortunately I had a performance review with DJ, so I was being scolded. So I actually wasn't able to watch class yesterday.
Performance review. Being scolded. Good for you, man.
No, it went well.
Yeah, well, there's always a scolding involved at some level, or it's not worth doing.
Right,
That's the
yeah.
point.
And I'm all about that. My dad was always super, he would tell me anything he felt was off the top of his mind. So I've always been very reciprocate, like what is the word? Recipro reciprocated? What is the word? Oh my gosh, I'm like losing my mind. But anyway, I was like I would always take that in. So it was good. There was a lot of growth moments as well, like where
Yeah.
I could elevate.
All right, good. That's the
Yeah.
point. That's the point of having a supervisor or a mentor or whoever is in that kind of role, right? Because
Yep.
yeah, I don't have that. I just have to wait to get comments from the stream.
And Lori, you got
And
Lori
Lori,
should
yeah, well,
comments for
Lori,
you.
I've learned to keep my to keep myself in line with Lori. Although that's really tough, man. It's harder for her.
To keep you in line.
Yeah, keeping me in line. Man. Hey,
That's
so
so
listen.
funny.
So we have a guest who's going to come on in a hot minute.
Okay, nice.
And yesterday's class was about the original title of the class was DEI in the military. But what happened was because there are these this sense out of the current administration that the Biden administration has really weakened the military tremendously by pursuing, advancing in a really kind of serious way, in a harmful way, DEI policies. Now, for me, I'm always the moderate guy, but also, when it seems like this military, our military as an institution, with so many years behind it, if in 4 years somehow the whole thing gets transformed,
Mhm.
then it wasn't. I don't know how something that's so institutionalized could be transformed in a matter
So
of 4
quickly.
years. Yeah. So, it's just politics, right? I mean, that's the nature of the politics stuff. But
Mhm.
so for me, I've spoken with, just I have a long history of working in different ways with the military, and then
Oh, really? Okay.
family and different things. So I don't see DEI at all. I mean, I really see the military as a place where it's really is about merit and advancement through merit. That was or achievement through merit. That was the title of the class.
Right.
It's much or more than any other institution. More than
Achievement
any.
through merit.
Yeah. Like, you really gotta like, yeah, you gotta be able to do your job, and you have to be able to pass, whatever it is, whatever the hoop is that you got to jump through, you jump through it, right? So that's one of the things that military people pride themselves on all over the world, not just in our military, right?
Is
Um,
and so like they're saying like for example there's not much nepotism in the military.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. What?
But though my guess is that the higher ranks, the highest ranks, like to be promoted, uh, it helps if you know people,
Right.
right? So that would be my guess.
So to
I
get
don't
to the
know
high,
that to be true. Yeah.
but when you're starting low, like when you're entry level, like a lot of that is merit based until you start
Yeah,
to
but
form
even
this
as
connection.
officers, like
Right.
Lord, it's just at the highest levels, man. It's political, right? Like to be a general, to be an admiral, these things. There's a lot of politics involved in that. What state are you from? What branch are you in? I mean, who do you know? All these kinds of things. People are going to use those positions to
Yeah.
advance certain things, right? So
Hmm.
anyway,
Is
so we had a
mhm.
class on that, and we couldn't talk about it directly because the one guest who was the father of a student in the class, a lieutenant colonel,
Mm.
he's like, listen, I can't talk about DEI. These are policy issues, right? And I can't be talking about policy, military policy. Like I can't do that. If my
Does that break confidentiality
Yeah.
or
No, it breaks you can't when you're in the military, you don't you follow orders, you don't give orders, and you don't
you
assess
don't
and talk
question
about
them?
orders. Yeah,
Uh,
you're not the one to tell the world what you think about certain policies, the people
right,
above you are setting, right?
right.
You don't do that. And that's part of how the military works really well. And
Do you
so
think there's a space for challenging it internally, or you just you don't you the
oh,
norm is you
people
don't challenge externally, like you don't
Yeah,
challenge
externally. Yeah. Internally, people are having the conversations all the time,
right.
so that's quite a common thing. But in any case, I decided, okay, I'm not going to talk about DEI at all because that's very
Right.
clearly going to be some kind of
Conflicts
yeah, conflict for him, and I
for
didn't want
him.
to do that. So we just
Right.
talked about, okay, what is this world of like achievement through merit? And we had,
Yeah.
it was a really interesting conversation. But what happened was somebody had come to class, a friend of someone who was in the class, and she's in ROTC. And so after class, she and I were talking, and I'm like, oh my God, you got to come on to the office hours. You know what I mean? You have a lot to offer this. So
What
anyway, that's what it is.
what was she saying? Like what was she offering that was like, yo, we need to
Um,
get this on the office hours?
She was offering very specific ways to think about advancement through merit and how it works. Yeah. And
Wow,
that's
base.
really, it's really important. Yeah. It's really valuable.
Hmm.
So,
And and you were talking about and you originally were talking about the shift that was had in 4 years of within the institution from the previous administration. Were you getting into like what that shift was or like how it shifted or what?
no, because I don't really know the shift. It really,
Mhm.
for me, was, uh, I can't talk about very specific, there's no question that in the Biden administration, uh, as well as the past 20 years of the military have moved, have introduced diversity and inclusion and these kinds of things in ways, right? But there's no question in tiny ways. I mean, there's no question about that. But to make these claims that this uh, but anyway, listen, let's bring her on. Anyway, bring our guest on, and then
Yeah.
we'll go. Yo, Jay,
Hi, hello.
What's up,
nice to
Jay?
see you. Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. My pleasure.
Did you hear anything that I was saying? Were you able to hear it?
Yes, I did hear a bit. Yes, about
So,
achievements.
so the idea, this is really awesome that you came on. I mean, I immediately when so the way Social 18 operates is, the guests are 99%, unless we bring someone in on Zoom. Um, the people, the volunteers are all people from class. Once in a while, there'll be somebody from outside of class, like a friend of somebody or that sort of thing. But it's just all in class. And people apply to volunteer and they say a little bit about themselves, and then I just choose them and we come up and the class just goes where it goes. I never know what's going to happen or what the conversation will be. It's really kind of crazy in that way.
Mhm.
And but sometimes, what I'll do is I'll later talk to somebody and I'll say like, oh man, you would have been such a great volunteer for that class. So in talking to you, I realized like, oh, you would just have been really, really nice to have up in front of the class. So
You were
Glad
the
we
one
could
in
help.
anyways,
ROTC
but in a way,
that
it's
taught
better
you.
that you're here for office hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually in the office in the ROTC building right now, the cadet lounge,
Oh,
where
very
the
cool.
cadets for our Army ROTC hang out. And I have a friend with me who, come on.
Hello.
Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey,
Yeah.
Good, how are you?
Yo,
My name's
awesome.
Zachary, Strong Force, senior in Army ROTC here.
He is the definition of achievement through merit.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Wait, what's your first
what does
name?
that look like? Yeah.
My first name is Zachary.
Zachary. All right. We'll go. Wait, and Jay, Jay is your first name, right?
Yes, Jay's my first name.
Okay, cool. All right, Jay and Zachary. Hey, so listen, man. Do you want to be on? Are you good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, just shoot.
All right. All right. Just move, Zachary, move to your left just a little bit. Hey,
Just a
so
little
the
center. There you
idea, what I was saying earlier is, there's a lot of what I've seen. So I've been working with the military for many, many, many years. And what I said in the beginning of class yesterday was that militaries around the world really pride themselves on achievement through merit, because it matters to militaries, and people like yourselves, when you're out doing your job, you got to know that the people around you are competent, and you got to know that they didn't get chosen for something just because they knew somebody, so nepotism is fine when it's like some, insurance company somewhere, you know what I mean? But the military is a different beast, man. Like you gotta know that people around you are competent and they're going to be able to do their jobs. So anyway, that's true for every military in the world, but it's especially true in the US. And when I made the argument I made yesterday was, from my perspective, it is probably the one institution where we see achievement through merit probably more than any other institution, in the world of education, in the world, all the other institutions, you see that there are all sorts of ways in which people can climb the ladder and be into positions. But, the military is just one where I just see that it's not everywhere. And one thing I was saying was, at the highest levels, and this I just have read so much about, and there are politics involved, like who gets selected to be the 3-star general or the 4-star general or something like that. Man, there's like political considerations that come into play, right? So
I don't want to say nepotism is like I don't want to say the military is completely immune to nepotism, but we do emphasize merit, especially in ROTC. We actually have this national ranking called Order of Merit List that each cadet gets evaluated and put on the list, like basically our senior year.
Is that in each unit has an Order of Merit list? Or is it nationwide?
It's nationwide. Basically, all of the 3,000 cadets are on this list.
So it actually is both nationwide and program based. So like our program has our own OML list, and that's usually to determine where people can get internship slots, school slots. Like for when I was a sophomore, about to be a junior, that summer I was able to go to air assault school because it's higher in that OML list for the program.
Yeah.
But there's also national ranking, which comes into play when we do sessions, and that's where we select like our branch preferences, component preferences. So that's like active duty, reserves, National Guard.
Yep. And this list is like you said, like colorblind, sex blind, and it all depends on your ACFT score and your GPA, your extracurriculars. that all goes on it.
6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I was asked by the commander at Army ROTC to be one of the team of 3 people that created that list 1 year for you all, right? So I spent 6 hours or so reading every one of the cadets, man, all about them. And I didn't know who they were. I mean, I knew nothing about them other than all the things that they had achieved and they had done. So, yeah, so I can say I had no sense at all of who people were, other than that. And so for you all, how is that for you to know that you are really being ranked and judged and ranked by what you can do, like purely by what you can do? How's that feel? How is that?
I know in my case, it's definitely very intimidating because you don't really get to realize that you're being ranked until your junior year, which is where it comes into play. Just because during that point, we're doing talent-based branching, which is like a literal resume to the U.S. Army for the branches that we want to go to.
One thing I realized is that it provides a lot of motivation for you to work really hard towards your goal.
Yeah.
Because it's this like really tight curriculum and this really tight very stringent formula that you have to follow. So the goals are very simple and laid out for you. You just have to like try harder and harder and harder, and really like try to basically, I guess, to quote the Army, be all you can be, right?
Yeah.
And
if you don't make it, like if you don't achieve what you really want to achieve, it's easier, I would imagine, to feel like, hey, you are to blame. Like, you know what I mean? Like the responsibility falls on you. There's nobody else.
Here's the thing. The Army will always find somewhere to put you, because, you know, like if there's a top of the list, there's a bottom of the list, right? So the Army will allocate its resources. Sometimes they might not be the best at it, but they will do what they gotta do. Like you're just a number to them, basically. You're a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
But more so than the civilian world.
Yeah. A cog in the machine. There's a way in which that's in the world of fairness and achievement, right? And merit, that's kind of what you want to be in a way, right? Huh.
I guess like that is the downside, and the good side to like being a huge bureaucracy. Like there's a clear set of rules, but like I said, it's not immune to some of the things that you do see in the civilian world.
Yeah. It has to. Of course, there's going to be some nepotism that comes in. These kinds of things, right? I mean, of course, there's going to be, right? But this idea that I had. Now, the two of you can't comment on this, really. I don't want you to comment. Like, I don't want you to get you into trouble or anything. But this idea that somehow in 4 years that, DEI, in the class, we talk a lot this particular semester, we're talked a lot about DEI because it's so in the news. So we're talking about it constantly, right? In the different ways that in a matter of a few years that this could infiltrate the entire institution of the military. And it's just, my argument is like, that's just not possible. You know what I mean? That's not possible. It can be in certain places, but, to really undermine.
Wait, define DEI infiltrating.
Well, this is the current Pentagon spokesperson is dude, it's politicized, right? So meaning DEI, that the military has become who you are more than what you can do. So for you, Jay, as a woman, and as a woman of color, right, you'd be considered, you in the past X number of years, there are all these ways in which you can advance that you never could have advanced in the past, because all these people outside the military have decided that, hey, it's really important to give opportunities to groups, people from groups that are historically underrepresented. And so what we need to do is we need to change policies so that people like you would have more opportunities to advance. That's the argument. And what I'm saying is, I don't see that. Yeah. Like, I'm not seeing that.
I was instructed by cadre just now to not talk about anything
Yeah, I don't think you should talk about that.
related.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why. Yeah,
But
that's why I'm saying don't respond to that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's better. But let me ask you, like, you seem from the moment I met you yesterday, you were like what I would say every cadet who's a woman that I have met in my time at Penn State, which is 30 years, man, it's just like, I don't know, between you and cadet and Zach, like, I don't see a difference. Like, you know, people see you and they see you as a woman and they might see you a certain way. Like, I don't, man. I mean, you were like really, I don't know how to say that. Well, I'll let it go. I won't talk about that. I think it's just hard. It's hard. Yeah. People on the outside. Okay. Let me ask you another question. When you think about the things that the two of you want to do, and you think about jumping through the hoops you need to jump through, how is it for you? How do you think about failure?
I mean, of course, from a career in the Army, there's going to be a lot of successes and a lot of failures. The big thing that they kind of look for is how you respond to failure. So it's just not necessarily let it get you down, but kind of learn from it. Like, stuff is going to happen where I'm not going to come out on top necessarily or achieve the goal I want to achieve in that immediate moment, but how I respond could determine whether I could get back there or possibly even push further.
one thing I noticed is that the military really offers you a very tightly knitted support network that you wouldn't otherwise get outside, because if you're a part of the team, you are vital to how the team functions, right? And if you have good leadership, as we do here at Penn State Army ROTC, the cadre, your instructors, they really care about your well-being. And if let's say you've experienced some sort of failure, they want to bring you back up again. Because let's talk about like this recent injury that I had. I tore my lateral meniscus, and my cadre and like the cadets around me have been nothing but like extremely helpful and understanding. Like, I would try to do things I'm not supposed to do, and they're like this is an order, like, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do
You need
that.
to heal. Yeah. And it's just mentally it's just nice, right? And I feel like that contributes to why a lot of people after they get out, they don't have that support network anymore. It's really hard to like adjust, and a lot of people like choose to re-enlist and whatever. But yeah.
So here, let me take this a step further. You know, what I see in the military, say like you all in particular, it's like you are being trained or you're selected because you're really high, you're high achieving. Okay. First off, that's the one thing that people see with you, and that you are selected because there's the possibility that you can go really all the way, like as high as you want to go. All right. So then you got all these people who are in the same position, that you're all really high achieving and really motivated and really wanting to move forward. So it's like failure, and that's true across the whole country, right? So in a way, failure, you all want to get to the top, and failure is almost built in. You know what I mean? You get that, right? And I don't mean failure like you're going to wash out. I mean failure like everybody wants. Like, for example, my nephew went to the Air Force Academy, and most people at the Air Force Academy wanted to fly jets, and everybody wanted to fly F-16s. This was 30 years ago, right? So you all want to be in an F-16, and only a few of you are going to fly F-16s, which means there's just an unbelievable amount of failure. Okay, so it's kind of interesting that you're also an institution that you're being trained to be the best, and yet you also have to be trained to accept how to deal with failure, with not being the step up where you want to go, because there's only so many slots at the top. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Me personally, well, I don't have a lot of like active duty experience, but from what I've seen, that happened to other like active duty people that I've talked to, friends or like basically, I don't necessarily see these as failures, more so than maybe like you're just there's people that are better than you.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the reality, right? But that doesn't equate to failure. It just means that you will have to choose another path. And the military, what it does or at least the army does very well, is to provide you with lots of options to choose
Yeah,
from.
got
Lots of
you.
schools,
Got
lots
you.
of jobs.
Yeah.
You don't like it here, submit a packet, go somewhere else.
So in a way, what it is this goes to what somebody said, what Mark said on the stream yesterday, which is like, there's so many jobs, so many positions, so many things, and every single one has to work in order for the military to function well.
And definitely
Everybody has to.
Yeah, we do not like using the word failure, because a
Yeah, I
lot of
got
this
you,
stuff
right.
is mental, and if you say that to yourself, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, I got that. Right. So that's actually pretty cool. Because it means like you weren't designed to do this over here. You're going to do this over here. And so failure is not part of it. It's just finding the right space for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And understanding that maybe you wanted to fly jets. Someone wants to fly jets, but but that's not what your destiny is. Your destiny is to do this other thing over here. And yeah. And when you see yourself, so therefore you all then, and Zachary, I want to ask you this question. So then you all see yourself as part of this, like a team, like a really, like a big team where everybody relies on everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Especially here, we just kind of view each other as one big family almost. Like we're all like hanging around with each other pretty much all day, every day. We have specific days where it's like we're in uniform for the entire day, just talking to each other, chatting to each other. And especially for junior year when we're getting ready for our final assessment, which is our cadet summer training, we're training with each other all week. So we're constantly working together. We're constantly being around each other. So it's definitely a setting where I kind of view it as like one big team, one big family away from my own family back home.
So you like the person next to you, even though there is this kind of competition in a certain sense to get to the place where you really want to get. And if someone's better than you, that means they're going to get a certain position over you. It doesn't matter. You're still trained to support and uplift that person next to you, because their uplift is really important.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even though, yes, we are in competition with each other and in competition with other cadets across the country, we're still ultimately trying to build each other up and trying to help each other out so that we're all able to succeed to the best of our abilities. For some, it's a little bit more than others, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we're all commissioning an army one way or another. We're all entering it as one big team.
One thing I would like to add, going back on this, like the path, failure, and this whole team thing, and touching on like what you guys, the lecture, the panel talked about yesterday about women in the military, and this DEI thing. I just wanted to say, like, yes, the prior 11B was correct in that there is different physical expectation from males and females, but here's the thing: the army is like what, like more than 80% non-combat. there's logistics, adjunct general, which is like lawyers. There's nurses, med surg, logistics, quartermasters. There's like all these branches that are not going to require you to like haul 80 pounds rucksack back and forth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally.
people are going to have to fill these positions. So like,
Well, this is what I was saying in class, like from the outside. I think this is what I was trying to say about 10 minutes ago. From the outside, this is like people who don't understand the military or who have a really old vision of the military who make these assessments of things and don't really understand the nature of what's happening, right? So it's like, oh, how can women be in the military? I mean, it's really an absurd perspective from my point of view. And having been around people in the military, like working with cadets, just for example, for 30 years, right, here at Penn State, man, I just see it's like when I meet cadets, like you all, like the two of you, I just encounter a largely, almost across the board, it's not true for everybody, but a different personality than I encounter with other students.
I feel like the media has definitely not done a very good job at representing what military or like the Army is, because there is, like you said, a lot of jobs here. Most jobs aren't combat related. We don't just we don't just shoot every day. In fact, a lot of most jobs don't even get to touch a gun like 99% of the year.
Yeah. And actually, for most people, people who even have been deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan over the years, a lot of people earning, a huge percentage of people earning, were never even in combat roles. So,
and there's like nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with being a POC or whatever,
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, but listen, but it's mindset, right? So Jay, for example, when I first started talking to you yesterday after class, I'm like, you had like this way of just holding yourself that I have come to expect from cadets, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, well,
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a compliment. No, totally, man. And Zachary, like I look at you and I'm just like, yeah, I know you already. Like, I know you. I've met you. It's just like, you guys, you're waking up at 5 a.m. and you're training and you're doing, it's just like, man. And if you can't do that, you wash out and you're just not like other students, man. It's not. The closest I get are to a lot of athletes who just their days are planned out for them. Man, they get people have this idea that, being a kind of a Division I athlete at a place like Penn State is really easy and everything's handed to you. And man, it is grueling. It's just like your lives, right? It's grueling. You know what you're going to be doing next week, and so, and that's what we want, right? That's kind of this thing that we're,
I was gonna ask like the two of you, because we're like speaking a lot on the values that you've like all instilled and how you show up and like exemplify those values. What is it about like the structure that you're in that like makes those, like as Sam's saying, like I've seen the consistency of how students show up coming from this program. So it's like, what is it about this structure that you're in that makes those values so absorbable for you?
oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Me personally, I think it's a lot of like humans do well when a clear set of instructions is given to you, and we do well when we have a common clear goal with meaning that's, I guess, like meaningful to us personally, idealistically. That basically is what motivates people to do things, right? People to live, people to do better and improve. And the military offers that, right? It gives you this like brilliant idea of fighting for your country, and self-improvement, and you are actually doing something for a purpose, a bigger purpose, right? You're not just yeah, basically that's kind of the reason why I got in. So
So, like a lot of like so were you saying one that they tap into you like personally,
yes, they do.
and
Yeah,
then they also like when they tap in, they also help you find like, oh, this is bigger than yourself in a
that's
way, or
correct.
like,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, yeah. What about you, Zach? How do you see how do you see that?
I'd say coming here to this program because I came from like a non-military family, so I didn't really have much experience till I came here. I would say just having really good instructors to kind of instill that mentality, instill that work ethic was extremely helpful,
Yeah.
as well as having upperclassmen to kind of like guide me along the way. For people who had those experiences, I did not have the benefit of having. Just give me instruction, give me advice, and giving me that mentality of how I should be holding myself, how I should be working to improve myself.
Yeah, the quality of your leaders will make or break you.
Who are the people that don't do well around you? Like, who are the people that you see are like, yeah, this is really, you're not cut out for this?
So from my experience, it's usually the people that just don't show up. Like the smallest but biggest thing you can do is simply to show up. Show up to train, show up to classes, show up for your people when they need you. Like those people that just don't feel like they need to be there are usually the ones that like get dropped early on or fail in the long run. And as well as people that just are not willing to put the work in, just because there's some people that come in like really physically fit, like student athletes from high school, people who just come from a military family background, and there's people that are just coming in maybe not as in shape and just not willing to put in the work in to get to that level. So it's usually comes down to people who don't have a strong work ethic and people that just don't want to be there.
People who are not ready for that structure. Yeah.
It's
But
like
listen,
seeing
that's life at every level, man. Like at every level of society. It's like you got people who, I mean, I see it with students or with people that work for us, you know, like if you're not ready, man, if you're not ready, if you're not hungry, first off, and you're not ready for the structure, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to make it, you know. Yeah.
it sounds like not ready for your attitude to be shaped. Because it sounds like there's like a clear difference in like what you're saying, people that don't want to show up in their attitude. At least that's what I'm hearing from what you're saying.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like don't have the right attitude going in, it's just not going to work out well. Like you have to be 100% ready for this career path, 100% ready for like the different commitments, like the early wake up calls, the extra work. Like you have to be ready for it. Be in the mindset to take it all on.
It comes down to like if you believe in this, right? It's all your belief. Yeah.
Your belief in this and your belief in yourself ultimately. Yeah. And your willingness to be transformed.
Yeah, like it's funny that you say transformed because when I went to basic camp at Fort Knox last summer, it really felt like a process of indoctrination. There's this one quote that our senior drill sergeant said a lot is she'd be like, "Why are you being an individual? You're not an individual," right? And that like they drill this into your head.
Yeah. That's part of the team, right? If you don't have that, you're not. Yeah, it doesn't work, man. It does not work. Huh. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
one of the things that we talked about yesterday a little bit was war movies and how war movies are very different in a lot of aspects to real life. But one of the things that war movies does, I think, really well, and it's one of the things that Patrick in the chat and I are talking about, is it really shows the camaraderie amongst people, especially when you're in a situation like you're abroad, and you have the people that are around you that many of them you've trained with, some of them you've met when you got there. But it doesn't matter because you're all on the same team. You're all together. You're all working together so that if one of you, God forbid, gets hurt or something, the person beside you is going to be able to take care of the job or is going to be able to get you to safety or whatever those things are. And you can't do that if you're worried about what am I thinking about? No, it's about the group, and it's super important in a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of like part of human nature, I believe. When you're put into such a stressful situation, you don't think about anything else but like, you know, this one thing: survive. And
And
the
do
military is
your
like,
job.
yeah, do your
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
believing you got it's what I had said, Elijah, yesterday is like this is not you got to know, you got to believe that the person around you is going to be able to do their job.
Right.
And that's where the distrust, when you instill a lot of possibilities for nepotism or for, I don't know, just like we're achievement, through merit is not so clear. You just instill a lot of question marks, and that's it's a problem, man. Like, and this is of course where we're at as a whole society. Like, there's so many people who now have come to believe that so many people are not achieving through merit, that there's just a lot of distrust at so many levels of society. And I think it's really unfortunate because it just creates a lot of question marks. And yeah.
I feel like maybe the chain of command kind of alleviate this problem in an
Yeah.
establishment like this, because even if you don't trust your leadership, you will have to listen to them regardless.
Yeah.
So
That's the key. That's the key, right? Even if you've lost a little bit of trust, you got to listen. Yeah, that's key. And there's a beauty in that. I mean, I'm speaking as a sociologist. There's a beauty in that. It's like, listen, you don't think on your own. Just do this thing that you need to do, and trust that most often, especially in an institution like the military that has so many years behind it, right? So many things. It's like, look, you got to trust that it works. Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool.
it makes
Elijah, do you
me.
have another question? And then we'll wrap
Yeah,
it up.
yeah. I was wondering because like whenever I don't really have any family that's like in the military, the army. I have this my grandfather who like married in, his son was like in the Air Force, but besides that, not too much history of like military, the army in my family. So my insight comes from just like maybe the commercials that I'll see, or like and a lot of the times I just remember this image in my head. It's like army strong, or like I think that's one of them. And you're talking a lot about like the team mentality and like the selflessness that's involved and like really allowing this organization, this institution to like come together and be sturdy. And it just makes me wonder like how much those that are coming in, for those that are coming into this institution, and like if you're like mentoring or training others or like helping others, do you think like the selflessness is something that they know is like inherent to the work, or is it more about like individual, is it first like individuality first, I have to be strong, I have to be
Yeah. Yeah.
versus
Do
like,
you have
oh,
to,
this is
yeah. So I think what you're asking is how much of the selflessness or the team camaraderie do you have to really teach people? Do
yeah,
you,
yep, thank you.
yeah. What do the two of you see?
In my view, from my experience, it's definitely breaking down from the individual mentality to the selfless and like team mentality, just because a lot of people come in with like very hoorah mentality.
Uh-huh.
In reality, it's kind of like, yes, it's impressive. You get impressed with your own individual abilities, but you still have to be able to work as a team, especially when we're trying to become officers. Like,
yeah,
we're not acting as an individual, as an officer. We are there for our unit.
yeah,
And that's a mentality we have to learn over time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, yes, like a lot of people come in thinking they're an individual, but at the end of their 4 years, they have to understand that they are part of the team. They are not the one who's in the spotlight.
like no
Yeah.
one's immune to like a little bit of prejudice, or
Mm-hmm.
things like that, being judgmental. But you ha- we are it's drilled into us over and over again that you have to see past that, you have to look past it, you have to remember all the values, be selfless. But like I said, like there's no definitive way for everyone to be like a perfect soldier. So you work with what you have, right?
Yeah.
Try to do your best. And if someone can't I guess really achieve,
Yeah.
I don't know, throw the rule books at them and hope it works.
Or if they can't set their ego aside,
Exactly.
even, right?
And
So
there
like
is
if
a lot of
you,
people that do exhibit that kind of mentality.
yeah.
It's just the way of being human.
I had a colleague who, was in the military, and he didn't like sort of get the slot that he really wanted, that he felt like he wanted, and he couldn't buy into the team mentality. And in the end, it just didn't work for him. He did his time, and then he got out, and he hated it because his ego, like he could not like just get rid of his ego and be like, no, I'm part of this team here. For him, it was still about him. Yeah. And that's that communitarianism that you really see. That it's the one place in American society where we see it very strongly, the community stuff, right? Jeff, do you have something?
Yeah, there was one question I wanted to get to from yesterday's class. A woman who watched the stream from Minneapolis, her name is Megan. She asked, or she first commented and said that she was never in the military. She has a lot of family, both of her mother and father's side, as well as her father was in the military. And her question is, how does it affect close family dynamics? And my question, based on that, is, how did your families respond when you were like, hey, I'm joining the Army or the military? And how are they now, especially if you've been in for multiple years?
I guess I can start off with
Yeah,
that.
sure. Yeah.
I definitely was kind of the black sheep of my family at first when I said, like, hey, I wanted to join Army ROTC. And originally I wanted to go the enlisted route and do
Same.
like green the gold, where I'll do a few years in the Army and then go to college. But my parents were very much like, no, you are going to college. So I ended up doing ROTC. They were very nervous at first because their view of the military was violence, a lot of guns, a lot of danger. In reality, for ROTC, it's not all that. Yes, we are handling weapon systems, and yes, there is risk, but at the same time, we are here to get our degree as well as learn how to become a leader.
Most of us are going to end up being paper pushers in PowerPoint.
A very good amount. Like Excel is very popular here.
Yeah. Listen, man, I when I was your age, I wanted to join the FBI, and I went and I talked to some FBI agents at the local office, and they said, study accounting. And I was like, what? They said, become an accountant, major in accounting. And I'm like, wait, that's the FBI? Yeah. All right. So that's okay.
Hilarious.
So Jay, how about you? What's your family?
Thank God, like my family are, I would say, relatively Americanized, so they didn't really care if I joined the military because like before this I went to art school and I majored in oil painting. So it's like a very like drastic, career shift, right? And they were just like, well, whatever you do, just stick to it. Yeah. And I definitely try to assure them that, when you're an officer, you're basically just the equivalent of middle management in the civilian world. You give briefings, you give PowerPoint presentations, you write emails, literally all you do, majority of the time. So yeah, there's nothing to worry about. But I do have, I know someone, I have a friend whose grandfather was, or was it her dad, who was in, he went to West Point, and apparently he was very against his kids joining the military for various reasons. So there's that, the other side of the coin.
Yeah, it is fun. It is interesting to see the like family connections, you know. By the way,
Yeah,
at some point in time, you know, Pennsylvania sent more people into the military, I think, than any other state. That was a number of years ago. I don't know if it's still true, but
you know, it's wait, were you asking a question, Sam?
no, go ahead, man.
Oh,
Fine. This
okay.
will be the
Oh,
final thing, and then we're gonna cut.
got it. Okay. And I think this is just coming from a little bit of my experience in the corporate world and just like understand like people that are become drained or experience burnout. And obviously, like you're giving me insight on what the world is like, you know, within the army, and you're saying like an officer would be very similar to a middle manager, and it just makes me wonder about like oh like paper pusher, like a lot of those roles that are in the corporations, people are experiencing a lot of burnout and drained, you know, so it just makes me wonder what the difference is, and we kind of spoke to it maybe a little bit with the culture that that's instilled in the army. Just like how is there not that sense of, you know, burnout or being drained if your purpose was maybe to join the army and maybe to be involved in combat or doing things that isn't just paper pushing, you know? And
Oh,
it's like,
there
oh,
is,
go
yeah,
ahead.
very good question because there is so much burnout in the military. You know, like on the enlisted side, a lot of people sign up because they're recruiters who lie very often, tell them, oh, it's going to be like Call of Duty. No, it's not. When you're
Yeah.
11B, uh, infantryman, you're going to have the mop force, clean the yeah, porta potties. Yeah. It's, yeah. So also like in the NCO level, like NCO corps, like there's also a lot of burnouts. Like for example, like drill sergeants, long hours, sleep deprivation. You know, the pay's not worth it. Lots of things they have to deal with. So a lot of people, they do their years and they get out and they find a lucrative job in the civilian world. And I feel like that applies to like majority of the people that come in.
So a
Yeah,
lot of
but you
it's
know
like,
what?
oh, go ahead.
But if I can add to that,
Mhm.
but because I know so many of them, or I met so many people that did their years and they come in, but man, every one of them, almost everyone says they matured in a way in those years, regardless of what they did. They matured in a way that they feel like they never could have otherwise. You know, and that's intense, you know, like just for me as a sociologist, right? To see that part of the human experience, that's a really cool thing.
No,
Or
that
it's a
is really
very fascinating thing.
Sorry, Elijah, were you going to say something?
oh go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. If you were gonna go.
No.
What are you
I
gonna
just,
say?
I just wanted to ask.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to I might have missed, I think I missed it. It left. It left me. Sorry. I had something that it left.
All right. All right. Well, listen, this is cool. It's great conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Uh,
for inviting us.
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for
Thank
hopping
you.
on. I think it's really good. I think it's valuable for, you know, like people who watch the live stream. They watch our student volunteers, you know, week after week, right? But they don't. But you know, but the volunteers we had yesterday, and then the two of you are still different. You know, it's a different experience, and people don't really have an opportunity to meet folks like yourself. So I think it's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. So thanks,
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That's give you so much insight.
and be well and good luck, man.
Yep.
Yeah, good luck. All right, you all
Do we
take
just
care.
leave?
Yeah, you can just hop out. Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah,
will
I'll
get
take you
out.
off screen. See you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah.
I think what I was going to say, I just remembered it, but I was going to say like, oh, it seems that because I'm sure people gain something from like let's say those that leave the corporate world, and I'm sure there's those that gain something from that. You know, people are always
Yeah.
reflecting and like developing on their own.
Yeah.
But it just seems like maybe the difference between people that are in this world, the army world, and still just paper pushers or whatever, have some type of you know, they develop some type of refining, you know, no matter what, despite,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Listen, no, you refining, you get it. Look, it's like athletes. So I've been working with Penn State athletes, and these are some of the top athletes in the country, right? Because we're a top athletic school. So, like,
Will
you know, I
Carter, number 2, possibly the best NFL player in the draft this year. Crazy.
did, you know, here we go, man. So, I've got, so I have a lot of experience. I've taught a lot of the names of people who turned professional, man. I know them, and I've taught them, and
Mhm.
I see them, and the things they go through, and I don't like, I'm just fascinated by it. So, me talking about the military and with military people, it's not saying like, I understand the complexities of all this stuff. It's fine, I get it. But what I see with these athletes is, man, they almost all of them have a level of maturity that comes from having to follow rigorous rules, and that their lives are planned out for them. And
Mhm.
holy smokes, man, they're almost all of them are pretty smart. You got to be smart. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You 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 don't have to be, like rocket science smart, but you got to be really smart, man. You got to be quick. And I just see that with folks like in ROTC. Not
And
all. I've had a few that are kind of dull, but mostly that's not the case. It's mostly like Jay, and almost all of them are like Jay and Zach. Yeah.
And when you say that, I just know like during career fairs or when companies are hiring, it seems like they're always looking for athletes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because just like the team mentality that you're speaking of, or like the maturity, or just like the constant grind that they're involved in.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
it's
people are
interesting.
looking. People are looking for folks who are gonna grab onto a goal and stick with it and go with it, and who are gonna show up on time. Man,
Right.
it's just, man. There's just and I know, and working with a lot of folks who don't show up on time, it's really, really tough, man. It's tough.
Mhm.
And I never realized until being in this position, how it put when you don't have those that are working like with you that are like putting in the effort or like have the goals, it really puts the person that's like in the lead like in leadership position in like a difficult position. Just because then you have to like compensate, for
Yeah,
those that aren't maybe like working as hard or um at least yeah, if that makes sense, like how the leader has
yeah,
to like compensate to take,
yeah.
to
Yeah.
maintain the balance.
Yeah. Hey, I want to respond to something Eric Sell said a little bit ago. The assumption that about the civilians don't have any merit-based criteria. I don't think that's not what I was saying. What I was saying was that there's a there's an assumption. There's like an assumption in the world now, at least in a huge part of the population, that that merit has gone out the door, and it's flown out the window and escaped, and things like DEI have just taken over every aspect of society, and that it's merit isn't involved in anything anymore, and that's an assumption, and I don't think that's true. First off, so that's one thing. But secondly, I think of all the institutions in which merit is most strongly woven through the institution, I think military is the one, it just, but I don't think, it's as Jay said, there are, but lots of places where nepotism plays. Of course there is, man. That's life itself. You get to know people, and you feel a certain way about them, and you want to, you know, help them in some way. I don't know, whatever. I have that with students, you know, they want me to do, they ask me to write a recommendation letter. And I'm like, I don't want to write a recommendation letter, but they ask me face to face and it's harder. If it's an email, I can just ignore the email or say no, but then they ask me face to face and then they're in my class and they sit in the front row and I've talked to them before and I like them. And the more it's just like the more we just get this thing, we start doing the dance of social life together, the harder it is for me to say no. And that's just life. That's a kind of a form of a nepotism. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's that idea.
It's making me
So
think of like I'm not sure if it's the exact same, but just it makes me think of the term like social exchange theory um or like our nature to be pro-social.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
because you're saying like as the exchange develops, you have like this stronger pool to like support them in whatever way if they're like
yeah,
asking for something.
yeah,
It's so
yeah.
interesting.
Totally, man. Yeah,
It's so
totally.
interesting. I was
No,
gonna
I
ask
mean,
you. Mhm.
so anyway, I want to just be clear. I want to go back to Eric and be clear. I'm not saying that my statement was that that's the assumption and that, and nor was I saying in class yesterday or today that there's no nepotism or whatever in the military at all. It's just that I think the military is one place where it's stronger. Merit, achievement through merit, uh, is just stronger than anywhere else. I mean, I'll say that as a sociologist. Yeah.
The one thing that this semester's really spoken to me quite a bit is that there's nepotism, there's merit, and then there's DEI, which is DEI is pretty much just merit, but we're also taking away some historical barriers that have been in the way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
each one of them has a very positive and each of them has a very negative effect. And it really depends on a wide range of things. So for instance, like in the military, there is nepotism, but a lot of the nepotism is based off of merit. It's like this intersectionality between the two. Like, who should we promote? Well, it's between these three people. And the one guy was like, well, I was their drill sergeant or whatever, and I can really recommend them. But all
Yeah.
three of them technically had qualified. It's just nepotism is going to get that person. So it's going to work, and that happens in the corporate world. You could have a person who's extremely qualified, but yet somebody else's nephew or maybe the intern that started last year who might not have the qualifications, they still put in their dues. Let's give them a chance. Like there's lots of different things
Yeah.
that happen, and it's all like relatively positive and negative, but it all depends on the circumstance and it's just really hard for us to say like, oh, this thing is always good or this thing is always
Yeah.
bad.
No, I got that. I hear that. The thing about the military, though, at so many levels, it's you're more likely to find these touch points or these like, how do you say, like funnel points, right? Where the action, in order to get through, you know, you know, the particular path you go down is just more likely to be based on something that's more concrete, is what I would say. And I think it so many levels, and then it's never 100% concrete, but it's just more likely to be. And I think that for me, you know, for us in a class like this, in which we're talking about these issues, and Jeff, you're raising, you know, like kind of what the kinds of things we talk about. That's a fascinating thing for me. You know, how do we do that? And what would things look like if we did that at every level, right? Like, so people who make the argument that, listen, all of these attempts to socially engineer society to make up for past wrongs, because there's an immense amount of discrimination and an immense amount of ways and obstacles for some people and some groups to move forward. So people came along and said, we got to break down these obstacles. We got to stop the discrimination. Okay. And we can't just let it happen slowly. We need to actively intervene in order to stop the discrimination and remove the obstacles. Well, the only way to do that is to create some kind of way to actively step in, grab a person from the top of their head and move them to a different place. And that's it. Or to hold somebody else back. It's the only way. You have to change something that's going to create another obstacle for somebody else or create some kind of discrimination against somebody. It's the only way to do that quickly. And so
Eric also said, what are the qualifications of joining the armed services, meaning GPA or SAT? What intelligence levels are required? And the one thing, again, it's going back to the thing that Jay said. Some people's jobs are literally to like clear out porta potties, to do the grunt work. So you might not want a person who went to college for 4 years and has a calculus degree, because they might feel insulted that they're doing that. Whereas somebody who may have dropped out of high school, or someone who has recently gotten out of high school, they're the perfect person to do those jobs, not because it's the crappy jobs, but because it's teaching them a lot of things to get them prepared to get more roles, to get new jobs, to have more responsibilities. Because if they can't trust you to clean up the poop, then they can't trust you doing almost anything else. And it's mostly off of a maturity thing, which is a big thing the military does, is it matures people very quickly, very quickly.
In the end, it's about mindset, you know. Forrest Gump, man. You ever watch the Forrest Gump movie? Right there, man. Forrest Gump, that dude. Yeah.
I actually saw a short from Tom Hanks talking about that, and they asked him how did he get his voice for Forrest Gump, and it was actually from the kid who plays Forrest Gump as a child, because he was from like the middle of nowhere, Alabama or Mississippi or something, and that's how he talked. And so the director went up to Tom Hanks and he was like, you got to teach this kid how to make him talk like how you want to sound like. And Tom Hanks was like, no, I'm just gonna learn how the kid talks and talk like him, like I have that ability. And so that's how he got the Forrest Gump voice.
Oh, that's intense. That's pretty wild. Huh.
Good movie. Deserved of a rewatch soon.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's no best way, man. There's no way to fix everything, and but clearly the people who are critiquing the social engineering are also probably blowing it out of proportion to a degree, a lot of it out of proportion, because mostly a lot of stuff hasn't changed that much. So, you know, it's like, society just sort of runs along. Even now with Trump, right? I mean, the fact is, you know, this guy is like, I joked around last week, Elijah, with the class on Thursday. I'm like, hey, man, are you buckling up your seatbelts? Because you're in for a wild ride. And it's only just starting. Like, it's going to get a lot more wild. But the truth is, but then somebody said, actually, I don't know. Most things probably aren't going to change at all. It was G said, it's like, actually, not a lot has changed. Nothing's changed in his life. And I'm like, yeah, for most people in the US, nothing's changed at all. And nothing's going to change, really. So
Did you ever, I don't think you said something similar. Did you say something similar to that? Like some people won't experience the impact, or like most people are freaking out by the change in the administration. I think in one conversation you were like, you're freaking out. However, like it's not like the world is gonna be over, or you might not feel the impact the way you think you're gonna feel the impact.
well, yeah, that's right. And it doesn't mean that it's not significant. I mean, it is significant. You know, like these guys, you know, what's happening right now is, you know, there's like a reshaping of things could be really very detrimental for the global economy, the world order. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the future has to hold. But, you know, I don't know. Yeah.
I
Hang on.
kind of had a
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't look. I'm the sociologist in me. Just first off, I keep saying this, Elijah. I don't know what you think about it. Over and over, everyone has a different role in the world, right? I went through my years as I did a lot of activism and I did lots of things, right? But everyone has a different role, and we all are going to play those roles. And right now, my role is to be moderate, to try to tie the extremes together a little bit, try to like point out where the extremes, maybe we don't need to be so extreme, and maybe, but other people, I think it's really valuable that they exist to point out, no, where you really need to be extreme. We need to be protesting X, Y, or Z, right? And other people who need to be saying, no, we need to follow our president, like, okay, all these things have a place. I don't know. For mine, yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, it sounds like you're saying in different language, like what Laurie always says is like, in order to build the world together, like, it's not that just like one person is right or another person is right. Like, we all have different roles, and all those voices, like, need to be heard in like
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. And like sometimes
Yeah.
maybe like a voice, like she says, like, well, maybe a voice needs to be more silent right now, and another voice needs to be upheld, and then like later on, vice versa. And like that sounds a little bit like what you're saying, in order
Well,
to
yeah,
keep
and
the
it's kind of
symmetry.
reasonable, right? Like this latest brouhaha with the Trump administration and the use of Signal to plan these attacks. I mean, they say like, well, this, Trump administration is saying like, hey, but these weren't like high level or top secret or whatever conversations. Like, well, I think they were. You were planning the attack, on a foreign soil, including you were planning to assassinate who was essentially a civilian. The one guy was a terrorist.
Can you give more context on this example,
Yeah, well,
what you're speaking to?
people in the high up in the Trump administration were using Signal to communicate, these attacks that were being planned and carried out on foreign soil in Yemen, and so, including the assassination of a couple people who were identified as top terrorist leaders. But it was Signal, right? And so,
Signal?
a Signal is
Signal's an end-to-end encryption texting service. So it's very similar to like an iPhone to iPhone text. So like your cell phone and my cell phone are the only two places where our text conversation exists. It doesn't exist out in the cloud anywhere. And Signal is a particular app that is used, that's their main thing, is that they're end-to-end encrypted, and it's really hard for people to hack it. Pretty much is their claim.
Well, not only hack it, it doesn't even exist. Like, so if Jeff and I send a message on Signal, and the FBI comes in and says to Signal, hey, I need to know what Jeff and Sam said in the message back and forth, they can't even tell them because it's completely encrypted, front end and back end. It's like all they can say is, yeah, this guy Jeff and this guy Sam used Signal. And here's when they sent their message. Here's the last time they logged in. So we know that. And like, so, but that's it. We can't even tell you what the message was. So in a way, it's the best possible. It's probably what, people in national security with the top level clearance probably ought to be using, you know what I mean? But they don't. They have their own, things that
Email.
they use. Yeah, right. No, that's Hillary Clinton using their own email server. But the thing is, but Hillary Clinton, used a private server, right? And it turns out that, they weren't sharing confidential or documents, but it turns out that there were documents that were being shared that should have been marked confidential, and, or whatever you say. Okay, but in any case, right? So there's this big blow up right now that, these guys, like, these folks, like, what are you thinking, man? Like, are you not, you knuckleheads? Like, you can't use Signal to have these conversations.
Sam forgot one fairly important thing, is in this particular Signal conversation where they're talking about a future attack, and some of the Atlantic is the website and the newspaper or whatever that has released this information because somebody invited or added a reporter from the Atlantic to the conversation. Yeah. So it was going to like the vice president, Pete, head, whatever, our
Yeah,
Department
yeah.
of Defense guy.
Yeah.
People who were supposed to be getting these messages were getting it, but somebody also added this guy from like a reporter, and so he had all this insight. Now, luckily for the United States, he didn't share that information until after the attacks happened because he wanted to know, like, is this thing real? And lo and behold, a couple hours after he got the messages, the attack happened. And then that's when he blew it up, saying, like, hey, there's a huge issue with the Trump administration security right now if I'm receiving texts about future plans of attack.
Yeah, that I would say that's kind of a big deal. But the thing is, the problem wasn't signal. The problem was user error, and that's most often the problem with these kinds of things.
Exactly.
It's a user problem. People don't. It's not because people have hacked into something. It's because some user, like, just wasn't careful about what they were doing. And so you can't hack into Signal, really. I mean, you can't. It's not pop.
When you say user error in relation to Signal, they like
Yeah,
invited
so the guy
somebody
added,
or
yeah, how do you add this guy? Like, come on, man. Like, this is silly. So anyway, so now the Democrats, of course, are losing their shit, so to speak, because they want to take down the Trump administration as far as possible, right? So they are talking about how it's just the inanity of this, really. I mean, oh my God, the unprofessionalism, the danger of it. Well, it wasn't, from my humble opinion, Elijah, it wasn't dangerous. Well, if you hadn't brought this knucklehead in, this guy from the Atlantic, it's quite encrypted. It's encrypted. It's not accepted by the U.S. government. The national security, the security folks don't accept Signal. You can't communicate on Signal. You can't. Even though, like, from my perspective, it's like, well, why not? But they have their reasons. It's fine. It's good, but it's encrypted.
like Signal is really it's the standalone entity.
Yeah, it's a standalone.
Yeah, it's an app.
It's really,
So I'm not gonna whatever. They've already decided that, so that's fine. But but the issue is, so for the Republicans, well, if Hillary Clinton, they're still talking about Hillary Clinton using a private email server back in the day. You know what I mean? And, like, even though there were no top secret documents on that, whatever, like, they're still talking about it. But now they've done something that is infinitely more problematic, really. But now it's just like, the thing is, man, nobody can step forward and say, yeah, you know what, we were critiquing Hillary Clinton for what she did. Yeah, this is pretty bad. It would just be nice, from my perspective, to have someone just own up to this bullshit, and but they don't. And so this is just what gets us and so much trouble as a species, really. Yeah.
I have
So
a story for you. What my
But anyway,
senior year,
I just want to hang on before you say that. But Signal, hang on. But Axel, Signal isn't. Yeah, it's like WhatsApp or Telegram. Exactly, it's like that, but it's encrypted, and that's the big difference. All my paranoid friends, everyone I know is like paranoid. They think the government is watching everything they do. They all use Signal. I have Signal on my phone. I just don't
you can use it.
I use it. I have to use it with my friends who are paranoid about texting. So for them, I use Signal, but I don't use it for anything else because I'm a wide open entity. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the government watching me. I'm assuming that they are, even though they're not. Because why would they watch me? They don't. I don't. I'm just a knucklehead, right?
So they're not paying attention to people who aren't threats, essentially.
Yeah. I'm not a threat.
in the mind of a person who uses Signal, they used to use apps like WhatsApp. They used to, at some point, people used iMessage as well. But the problem is, their mindset at least, is that those are two large companies, and so therefore they can sell you out. Whereas Signal, which is probably the largest encrypted messaging app, since it's not owned by Meta or what was the other one? WhatsApp, and well, there's Telegram as well. But like, yeah, they think that those and Apple, like, they think that these smaller quote unquote companies won't sell them out. So it's a lot safer to use those apps. My story is a professor that I had my senior year. His name was Sasha Minrath. He was a cybersecurity expert, and when he was like a teenager, the internet was becoming a thing, and he found a way to like connect his one friend's modem, their router, to a line, like a copper line or something like that, or wire, put it up on top of his house, sent the signal through a Pringles can to his house, and then he was able to get the internet from his house for free. And then they set up this whole mesh network around his neighborhood. So this guy was like on top of it way at the beginning of the internet. So he was hired, or his company was hired by the U.S. government to come in and talk to them about cybersecurity and hacking. This was probably in 2012, maybe. And so they took like $1,000 worth of equipment, a crappy computer, some things for hacking, that kind of stuff. And their idea was to go in and hack the government, hack somebody from the government. And so they set up all their stuff. They had to wait a few minutes for one of the representatives to come into the room. The representative walks in, and he goes, they do their introductions, and they go, "So you can show us how to hack people?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And they're like, "How long do you think it'll take you?" And he goes, "Oh, we've already hacked you." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Go check your text messages. See the last text you sent your wife?" And he checked his phone, and they changed the time that he was going to come home. He had texted his wife like, "I'll be home by 5:30." They changed the text to say 6:30. And then they were like, and this is with $1,000. And this was because you were just texting your wife through a regular SMS text message. We intercepted it, changed it, and then sent that to her. And so that at that moment, the guys were like, "All right, let's sit down and let's talk." And so he talked to them a lot for quite a while at the beginning part of really hacking and DDoSing. And he's a great professor. I really liked him.
I had a former student of mine was part of the National Security Council at the White House, and she came to visit a few years back, a number of years ago, and she had two phones, man. She just had her phone, her private phone, and then she had her other phone, and the other phone was connected to a satellite, and that was like this secure phone, and that's just everywhere she went. She just had those two phones, and so that's just what it is. And I think like. For me, I think I see it. To me, this whole affair is just embarrassing, man. It's so embarrassing to think that, like, who are you people that you don't even know? Who are you that you don't know that you can't use Signal, even though it is encrypted? The whole thing. I'm think it's fine for me. It's totally encrypted. Oh my God, it's totally safe, but. You're not allowed to do that, man. Like what kind of and then you're in this you're communicating this. You haven't even looked to see like who else is in the chat with you to recognize that there's this strange number in here that no one knows who it is. And you didn't even look up there to see like, oh, so and so invited, this other guy to the chat. It's like, man, it's embarrassing. These people, like God.
You kind of put your finger on it. Oh, were you going to say something, Jeff?
There's a comment I want to go to, but I just wanted to say the third party is also in chat. I can't put his comment up because I'm somewhere else in the chat, but he says that he's a tech guy, and he says, "Sam, I'm sorry, but Signal is not that secure. For regular people, it's plenty, but for confidential stuff, it's not really that secure." And his reasoning that he says in the later comment is that the app itself might be fine, but there are apps like spyware apps that can go onto your phone that can then screen record everything your phone has. So while you're texting back and forth, then it's going to capture your conversation. So it's not getting the signal encrypted.
I got you.
Hacked. It's just hacking your phone.
So in a way,
which again is something scary to think about, that no matter what precautions we put in, there's always going to be some way that someone can get in. And I feel like that's, a national security thing that we need to be going after, especially with this most recent story going public. But like, we're talking about changing the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. So like, I feel like our values aren't necessarily in line to combat situations like this not happening again, because we're focusing on all the wrong things.
Yeah, that's interesting. So in a way, then if I get, but then it's a user error issue, right? Because if I have spyware on my phone, it's like I did something to allow the spyware to get on my phone, right? It just doesn't pop on my phone. It's something. I'm the weak link that
Yeah.
I
There's
clicked
something
on
you could have
something.
done that prevented it from happening, right?
Yeah, like maybe I carried my phone in my back pocket and someone came up and put their phone next to mine and the spyware jumped on my phone, but probably not. Like I had to do something to bring it on. But nonetheless, okay, so Signal's not 100%. It's yeah, okay. Well, there you go. Well, that's even more embarrassing then. You know what I mean? Like these people, like, oh my God. It's like who are you? Like who are you knuckleheads? My
I
God.
feel like that's what I was, for me, just with the level of knowledge that I have, which isn't a ton, right? But like, you know, just you put like put the finger like you what is the word? What's that analogy where it's like, um, I resonate with that because there's so many people living like responsible lives, that are like
Yeah.
handling their everyday business and they're
Yeah.
they're working their hardest to like be accountable, be responsible, like, and then and they're looking towards these other people, like seeing people in the highest of positions, and like
Being
you're saying,
knuckleheads.
see, yeah, like all
No,
this
and then
power.
for political reasons, for their own, because they've been, like sucked into some strange world. For political reasons, they have to deny that these people are knuckleheads. Like they have to defend them somehow. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you don't have to defend them. Don't defend them. They're a knucklehead. Like when I'm a knucklehead, I'm a knucklehead, man. Like, damn, like don't defend me. Like, holy shit. Like that's such a problem.
Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
like because when you're accountable, like you're maintaining integrity and you're like displaying these like traits and to the people that are
Yeah.
seeing you, and then like they're displaying these traits of like not being accountable, walking into folly and
Yeah.
not being, yeah. Hmm.
Now, for me, it's a problem. Like last night, Lori got on Fox, and she's like, "Okay, hang on," on her phone, right? Because she follows the CNN, Fox, BBC, New York Times, Washington Post. Like she just follows them all to see, like, okay, what are you saying? And Fox, for the longest time, didn't have anything about this whole uproar. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. How are you not covering this? This is a major issue. But they finally did. But not like CNN. I mean, for CNN, it's the end of the world is happening. So for Fox, it's like, okay, this is a serious issue. We're gonna have to look at it, kind of thing. And I'm like, that's just so uncool for me, man. That's so uncool. Don't I
Like
just
gaslighting
despise
almost.
I despise that, man. You have a level of you have the way of assessing the world and you apply it to everything. You don't just apply it to some things and not others, man. I despise that. And I work so hard to be fair-minded in my own world.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Hey, by the way, speaking of that, the daily. So Jeff, I don't know if I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but the Daily is a podcast from the New York Times. Um, it's definitely, it's not it's so if you think the New York Times is like this liberal media stuff, well, the opinion pages are really, for the most part. I mean, there's a couple people who write that are more fair-minded and thoughtful, but the Daily is yeah. So the one right there, Nixon dreamed of breaking the media. Trump is doing it. Wow, man, that is mind blowing right there. This 45 minutes is frighteningly mind blowing. Yeah.
Say more.
Well, it's just how much the media is just has. First off, Trump, man, this guy. Uh, what he's been able to do is mind blowing to me. That the amount of power he has amassed the amount of power at every level, like it's mind-blowing, and it's also really dangerous. It's too much power, right? It's too much power. But if you listen to that piece, you'll see how much power in the media, the power to, you know, yeah, I mean, you just have to listen to it. I don't want to go into it. It's too much. If anyone has any interest, just listen to it and think about what I'm saying. It's like, wow, it's scary. It's frightening. Anyway, but then the Daily is a really good podcast. I don't listen to it every day, obviously, even though it's called the Daily. I don't have time, but it's mostly New York Times writers and editors they interview, and it's just about issues. And then what they'll do is because journalists, top level journalists, are really known to be they have to be really clear thinkers. And so if you have some issue, they'll be able to deconstruct it and in very clear ways and write about it in very, very, very clear ways. And so when they come on the Daily and they talk about something, they ask really good questions and they really lay stuff out with great clarity. So if you want to learn about something that's happening that's kind of complex and you can't really understand it, the Daily is a really good. If they take the issue on, it's just a really nice place to go to say like, okay, I understand. And it's not political. It's not going to be pro or against Trump or whatever, far left or far right. They're going to just talk about the issue.
Just going to outline the details, like
Outline
very
the
clearly,
details.
very clear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a really good, it's a good podcast to have in the back pocket.
I think I downloaded that because I know Lori told me about the Daily because she listens to it, right?
Yeah, she listens
too.
on a. We're always every day. We check it out to see is it something we really want to listen to or not.
Right.
But that one, she said, "Dude, you got to listen to this, man.
I was in a
gonna depress the hell out of you."
I was in a random hotel in Tennessee somewhere, and I was telling this husband and wife all about my work and what I was doing, and we ended up talking about Bossum. And after me telling the whole story of Bossum, the husband looked over to his wife and he was like, "Yeah, I know Bossum. I listened to his entire story on the Daily." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's incredible."
Yeah. Bossum did 2
Daily?
episodes on the Daily. Yeah, they did 2 episodes on him. Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow. Fun.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Well, we're in a world. We're in a world of hurt right now. I will say that. So, damn.
I just linked one of the things in the chat with Bossum, and I'm also sending it to you guys on Slack, to his one of his episodes on the Daily.
I'm definitely going to check out the Trump destroying media podcast.
Well, it's not destroying. It's Trump using being able to control the media in a way that's just wow. That Nixon could only have dreamed of. Really, honestly, yeah, it's pretty intense. Really interesting. All right, so listen, tomorrow's class. We have a really fun class. Wait, I should have done this thing here. I yawned, but Koreans have this thing where they put their hand up to their face like this, and not like this. That's flat. Like you do this, yeah, and then they'll yawn, or maybe if they have a little bit of food in their mouth and they have to say something, they'll do this. It's very.
You'd say goodbye this way.
Yeah, but I just yawned right now, and I showed my whole mouth, like, and that's just like that's not cool, man.
Not acceptable. Interesting.
What is a world of hurt? Kenny said, a world of hurt is just like, what is a world of hurt, man?
A world of hurt is when you don't study for your first 2 social 19 exams. That's a world of hurt.
Yeah, there you go. I think for me, what do I mean by that? I guess I just mean
people are in a lot of pain.
Just a lot of what do I mean? First off, unless things could fall apart in a really kind of serious way, right? If these, you know, if you know, the Trump administration is playing around with the economy and the global economy in ways that like pulling things up from the deep roots. Man, this is not, you know, when you say like we have to uh, you know, really transform things and change the world. It's like, you know, man, it's a little fast. You guys are going a little fast for my liking. And you're pulling shit up by the roots and you don't really know what the implications are for that. So all of these tariffs and one thing after another. So this could, it's really, it's just a little bit dangerous to be operating so quickly. That's all. And at the same time, things sometimes seem like they're operating really fast, but the truth is it's not operating that quickly. Every aspect of society is like we're a giant tanker takes, you know, it's going to take you 5 or 10 miles or whatever it is to turn it. I don't know how that operates, right? So, you know, today I just sent my passport in to get it renewed. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on in the State Department. I don't know what's going on with passport renewals. There's so much craziness happening. So, you know, I did the expedited renewal, hoping that I'll get it back as quickly as possible. But, you know, like I don't trust that things are really,
Wow.
yeah.
This is the first time I've ever really experienced in my like 29 years of life so far. Just people are afraid of like the chaos and the like speaking to like the disorganization of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like the cabinet or the administration and the chaos. And it's like, wow, I'm actually feeling it a little bit, you know, for the first more than I ever have.
Yeah, but keep in mind that the vast, you know, so there are a lot of these, you know, a lot of positions, a lot of government positions, a lot of things that, you know, are being cut. I mean, all sorts of things, but understand that the vast majority of what we call the government or whatever it is continuing to operate as it's always operated. That's important, man. And again, that's my job, right? Like my job is to point out to bring the extremes in a little bit and narrow it down and be like, hang on, let's not lose our minds. Okay. But you know, but things can fall apart, man. This is the thing. It's like, you know, it's like climate collapse, right? The earth, the ecosystem could collapse. I mean, you know, there are all sorts of scenarios in which it happens fairly quickly. Yeah. So, all right. So class tomorrow is going to be a really fun class. We're going to have Gerald, you will, hey, maybe Gerald, you can be, you might be a good participant volunteer for tomorrow. Let me see. It's going to be fun. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be fun. There's a fun element to it. It's going to be a wide open class, but there's going to be a really fun element. Yeah, I will say that.
I'll be there watching.
Dude, it's gonna be. Yo, are you coming to do something with to
If
recruit?
Yeah, so the first what 5-10 minutes is cool. Me and
How
two
about
students,
2
five
minutes?
2 minutes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
me.
here's what it
Yep,
is. It's better if you have come often with very short messages. So it's
got it.
better if you come with one other person and then like
Hmm.
next week you come again with another person and you just
Hmm.
keep doing these really short messages.
Okay. Well,
Because what'll happen is people
we'll
be
check
like,
out.
yeah, I've been thinking about it. And each time you come and say something, they think about it again. And
Got
that's
it.
like what? So we're recruiting for world and conversation facilitation positions. And
Yep. S-
no, hang
So
on.
all.
So Eric, yeah. So no, this is the thing, like these parks, but you know, it's like, but all of them aren't being closed, but some of them are. And so, and in many parks, it's like some aspects of the parks are getting closed and other parts are not. So, it may be like a park where they have cabins for rent, but the cabins aren't going to be for rent. The park's going to be open, but you've got these like 18 or 25 cabins, and they're not going to be able to rent them because, whatever, that's how it is. Because the person who even has the keys to the cabins, it's like is gone, and they don't clean them. There's nothing they can do. So, and I think that this is the idea that I think we have to just be really careful about what is changing. And the park thing, this is absurd, man. Like this is just stupid. That you know what I mean? You would think like you say, like, look, we gotta close all these parts of our parks. Like we can't keep them going. And you would think you would be like, oh yeah, okay, that's a bad idea. These are public parks. You know what I mean? This is absurd, man. It's idiocy. Yeah. Yeah, the inspector generals. No, they didn't all get let go, but some of them did. Yeah. Yeah. No. I know. No, this is it. I'm not saying this is, it's just crazy. It's crazy. But still, the vast majority of government will continue to function as it has functioned. So some things will not function. And, and some of those we won't notice, and other ones we will, like the parks. Yeah. And that's a problem. Yeah.
For a final thing, and then we'll get out of here. This was about a half hour ago. I saw this comment from Victor, and he said, "Is there not a danger in teaching sociology in a way that emphasizes a naive sense of the good?" And I think if you watch our class, you're not getting some sense of like a naive sense of good. And then later on he asks about like, if everybody agrees in society that something is good or bad, does that actually make it good and bad? And I think if you come to our class, you're really seeing that there really is no answer, because it's very complicated. Because if you see things in a very, this is good or this is bad, that's when the naivety comes into the situation. Whereas we're trying to say, kind of more or less, all things need to be questioned because all things have good and bad in them. Not all. There are some things that are on the outskirts super good and super bad, but for the most part, when we're talking day to day in society, it's somewhere the good is different.
No, and also it's an opportunity to hear what people in college think about things, are thinking about, and that's a big part of the class. Yeah. No, this is no, and these are. So Eric, you're using like the rural elderly, and it's like, if you want to engage Social Security, you can't use a phone you got to go find an office somewhere. It's like that's just absurd, man. But that'll change back. That's going to change back because you can't screw your base over in that way. Completely. You're gonna change. You're gonna fix it. And so, but just even to do that. So what they did, Elijah, was they decided, hey, all this phone assistance in Social Security, you can't call in and phone assistant. I mean, you can't call it 800 number, but hey, I need some help with my Social Security. If you want to like, if you got a problem, you got to go to a Social Security office, like we have down on University Drive.
And that was completely shut down. They had it, but they took it away.
Yeah, you got all sorts of people. It's like, look, I can't get to the Social Security office. It's too far away, or it's like I can't get there. I'm on disability. That's my whole point. I'm going to call them on the phone. It's, I mean, this is just really dumb things like this, man.
Just like pulling away necessity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so you got to be on the internet. Well, our local office isn't closed, so yeah. So you got it's just really dumb things, man.
Again, it's one of those things where you can't win either way. If we shut down all of the offices, then people who don't have a steady internet connection aren't able to do this, and maybe one of the things with the disability they have requires them to be on Social Security, and they can't afford a stable internet connection. They rely on their neighbors or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you shut down all online stuff, then there's going to be people who have difficulty going into the office because it's too far away, or the nearest office closed down and the closest one is in Harrisburg or something that's an hour and a half away, whatever the situation might be. But yeah, it's crazy. But then there's also good things. Like, I know that they're trying to get food stamps out of like super sugary stuff. And it's like, man, if we put more money into food stamps, but then allowed people to get like better food and require them to get like healthier food, like, man, that could be something that could be beneficial. You'd have to see how it rolls out and everything, but
dude, okay, there's where I come in with my deep state desires, right? I'll socially engineer the population to stop drinking so much soda and sweet goods, and you can't buy that shit with food stamps. You know what I mean? But whatever, I can't. But here's one. Kenny, they just appointed this guy who's like has been leading the charge that vaccines and autism are the vaccines cause autism. This guy's been leading the charge on that. So he appointed him as one of the investigators who will be responsible for reviewing research on vaccines. You know what I mean? All research on vaccines.
Oh no.
This guy. And it's like, come on, man. This has been settled. This has been settled a long time ago, man. We have study after study. They asked JFK, it's like, when will you stop questioning that when we stop pushing for this idea that vaccines and autism are related? And he says, when I see the data that shows me that. And like, dude, the data, study after study after study are showing this, man. This is
the problem when you give people who don't necessarily know academic studies and how to read them access to academic studies. Not to say that we shouldn't have open access. We should definitely have open access, but we need to understand what these studies are saying, because what somebody will see is, oh, look at this graph of the amount of children that the United States required to vaccinate to go to public school, and then also look at this graph of how many people have been diagnosed with autism in the United States. See how they're both going up, and it's like, yes, but those two things might not be the same. Like, yes, we had students get vaccinated more, but we also started to diagnose more people who in the past, people with the same exact diagnoses would not have been diagnosed that way. So yes, we're diagnosing more people, but because we're studying more into autism, and there's different forms of autism that we now know and we diagnose that weren't diagnosed in the past. So it makes sense that the graphs are both going up, but that doesn't mean that they're connected.
Like the first rule that you study, right? Is that correlation isn't. That's the first rule.
Listen,
you learn.
man, I'm not even going to weigh in on this, okay? But I've just seen this thing has been studied ad nauseum, man. It's just whatever. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy making. Every day I wake up and I just think, oh my God, what's the next crazy thing?
Yeah, it almost feels like that type of thing almost feels like they're looking for a trigger, like to trigger somebody, just because that does crazy making. That does
No,
feel
it
like,
does, man. It's triggering everybody. We're all like, that's why I'm just like, I can't, but I have to see the look, for example, like Eric just wrote about all the all the Social Security offices are closed. Well, ours isn't closed. It's closed now, but it's going to open tomorrow morning at 9:00. So, like I have to. There's crazy making, and then I have to keep it in perspective, or else I'll lose my damn mind, man. Really. But I'm a little bit nervous. There's a lot of crazy rapid change that's happening, and I keep saying over and over, I'm of the age where I don't like that. I want to come in for a smooth landing, man. This is like just really uncool. And when I think about Elon Musk and I think about all the money that's on the table with this guy, and I'm like, how is this not a conflict of interest, man? How is this guy in the middle of everything that's happening in the Oval Office, and he has all these economic interests out there in the world? If this was Obama, and Obama had somebody like him working side by side, Fox News every single day would be doing a takedown of Obama's guy and all analyzing all the ways in which this guy is going to make billions and billions of dollars off of these decisions that are getting made and so on. This shit that just makes me so enraged that people can be blinded to, can critique one thing and be blinded to the other thing.
It's just the conspiracy thing. My mind instantly went to how conservatives on like, and I'm not saying like the average conservative, I'm saying like the talking heads would complain about like how George Soros is involved with like how the Democratic Party is run. And then they take that, and since he's Jewish, then a lot of times the more extreme would take it and be like, well, also the Jewish media is running a lot of things, and that's how they're controlling stuff. But then Elon Musk literally buys one of the largest social media platforms, and they're like,
and makes
nothing,
and his tweet day is the first thing you see if you're on the platform, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just it's so crazy, right? And then they'd be going off on him because he's from he was born in South Africa. Then they'd be just going off on that. It's just like, dude, you just have no credibility when people are, and this is the left. It's the left and the right. Like, you have no credibility when you're not able to critique your so-called own side.
Yeah,
that's insanity. Anyway, so the bottom line is, I'm like, I wake up every day, and this is how I look at my phone, like this. I'm like, okay, I pull up the news of the day and I go like this, and I go, just to be like, is it okay? Are we all right? And I have to laugh, man. If I'm not laughing, I can't. I can't.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not laughing because Saturday it's going to be in the low 70s, and every single golf course around me is filled. I can't get a tee time. Every single tee time is taken up, man. Already. I tried to get one this morning. I didn't
just
know
to
golfers
add to the stress.
Dude, oh my God, man. Come on. Shit.
dude, I'm so excited for Saturday because I got a new AC unit on Monday, and it'll be the first hot day, which we'll actually be able to test to see how efficient it is. So I'm like, oh boy, I can't wait for it to be 80 degrees down here so I can turn on my air conditioner.
Dude, this is when you know you're getting old. You're excited by testing the efficiency of your air conditioner in your home.
Bro, I got my thermostat connected to my phone. I know how to look at the daily reports. I have it all down.
Oh,
man.
God. Dude, you are pathetic. Just put that
I feel
right
that too. I get super excited buying the like when I run out of like one of those sponges for my when I'm washing dishes. I get so hyped buying another one, because I got a brand new one to like.
Dude,
It's like a toy.
Dude, you gotta go with a scrub daddy.
Yes, bro. And it has like the metal lining or whatever.
Yeah, we have the little wand or whatever. Scrub daddy's good.
Man. You guys, I thought I was old. You guys are like, oh, damn. All right, listen, man. So tomorrow's class will be cool. It'll be fun. It's going to be a little bit of a, whatever. That's it. All right, so.
Yeah, dope.
I should see you guys tomorrow, if all works.
All right, man. Okay, everybody. Be well.